Hello everyone, we are here with Stella Kasdagli. We are very happy to meet you. Stella is a famous writer in Greece and also co-founder of WomenonTop, which is an amazing, very active non-profit organization fighting for gender equality and women's rights in the workplace. So actually she's the most correct person to share her knowledge about gender stereotypes and help us in EQUALISER project.
I don't feel that famous, but I'm so grateful to be here with you today, so thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for having accepted our invitation. Can we just talk a bit about how do you think gender stereotypes are formed and perpetuated in society today? And also, can you please tell us some factors that contribute to this perpetuation of the stereotypes from a very early age?
I think the example of adults and the way adults share their perceptions, their beliefs about other people and other groups of people is what informs the ideas that children develop about the world, about women, about gender roles, and not just gender roles. I mean also racial stereotypes, religious stereotypes, age stereotypes, etc. So not with what we say, but through what we do, our behavior towards other people, we inform the way children see the world. And we do that as parents, as educators, as neighbors, as friends, as uncles. So in whatever role we have in the lives of children, we get to have this influence on them. And it can be a positive influence or a negative influence. And then during the course of our lives, we keep influencing one another's perceptions and biases and stereotypes. It's not, I think the effect is not as strong as it is during our childhood, but during our whole lives, we keep renegotiating these images that we have for other people.
How do you think that your girls, and it happens that you have two girls, experience all this? Let's say on a more personal note. Like how do they see you or your friends or the choices you make? Do they have questions? What do you feel that they think?
My girls see me as their mother, but they also see me as a public figure speaking about gender equality. So we're not the average case of girls, teen and preteen girls in Greece. However, I realized when they were quite young that they do have their own stereotypes and biases. Yes. Although they are growing in a family that's aware, that's trying to do the right thing and to be open-minded, etc. So they still have those stereotypes. But they see me fighting for gender equality, they have a lot of questions, they have some reservations in terms of, is this right? Is this the way we need to fight for gender equality? Is there another way? And what I realize is that they are also very different from our generation because they are growing up in a society that's much more aware around stereotypes, gender-based violence, inequalities. And of course this is a good thing in terms of their sensitivity towards social justice. On the other hand, it also creates fear.
Yes.
It also creates anger. And I think that a major question for the parents and educators of the next generation is what are we going to do with this anger and this fear? How are we going to manage it and channel this in order to create positive change and not just a generation of people, of young people who will be perplexed and confused and disoriented and very, very angry about the world.
This is what I want to ask because I had noted this question exactly what we discussed now. If that now the next generation and the younger girls and boys, of course, are much more aware of this issue since a very young age. Is that a positive thing? Is that a negative thing? Because they grow up and they have all this, let's say, from a very young age, this knowledge and this anxiety that they need to, either to fight for these issues, but you have already answered, and indeed it is something to think about parents, because, it's maybe too much anxiety on them since they're very young.
And there is also another kind of stereotypes that's being sustained through this. For example, I was taking an interview by a female taxi driver a few years ago, and during the interview she said that female passengers feel safer when they get into her taxi rather than into a taxi with a male driver. And my daughter, who was like 10 or 11 at the time, heard the interview and she asked me, why is she saying that? So I had a hard choice to make. Either I could tell her that, men in our societies tend to be violent more often than women, and there is a thing called gender-based violence, which most women experience every day. Or I could lie and say that I don't know why she's saying that. And in the first case, I would create an awareness, but also fear in her, and maybe a negative stereotype about men.
Yes.
On the other case, I would, leave her be as a preteen who can live her life free of fear and free to enjoy her clothes, her teen clothes, and going out with her friends without being afraid that something will happen to her. But this is not the reality that we're living every day.
So what did you do?
I mumbled something,
yes,
and it wasn't a good answer. It was not a good choice because I don't have the right answer.
Yes.
Still.
And sometimes it's good, to accept that we don't have the best answer or the most correct answer when children or younger people ask us, because it is true, and we're all trying. How do you think that, now everyone is more aware about gender equality and the stereotypes, and as we mentioned, younger people too, a lot. How do you think that in the next, let's say, 15 or 20 years, how do you think society will be? Which are going to be, as we call, like the trends or regarding gender equality?
What we are seeing is that young people are moving away from the issue of gender equality in terms of men and women.
Yes.
And they are embracing the concept through a non-binary perspective.
Yes.
So they are very interested in gender identities in general, and they feel both the need and the right and the possibility to explore those gender identities in different ways. And they are embracing, at least in theory, diversity and inclusion in a broader sense. I think the hard thing here, as it always is to explore those biases and stereotypes through our everyday relationships and our everyday behaviors.
Yes.
Because when I am a teenager, when I'm a young person with no family, no caretaking responsibilities, I can be much more activist and absolute in my positions, and it's interesting to see how this activism and these beliefs, these very strong beliefs about equality and inclusion, are evolving throughout our lifetime. When the reality in our everyday lives become more complex, when responsibilities increase, when decisions are made more difficult. So it's interesting to see how these kids and young people are going to reconcile the reality with their high ideals, which are of course the ideals that we would all like to have and support. It could be interesting.
Do you think that there is a kind of superficiality now among younger people in the way they see these things?
I think there is a haste.
Haste.
I think there is haste, and I think there is the inevitable innocence that comes with young age. This is a good thing, because if we didn't have this innocence, we would never, progress. We would never,
and things would never change.
Revolutions would never happen.
Yes.
But I think that being in a public space like the social media, the internet, combined with this haste that we see all around us to condemn people, to make assumptions, to come to conclusions, this creates a huge issue of polarization between people, and especially young people. And I think this will be maybe the most important issue that we are going to be confronted with over the next few years. So I think we will need to go back and learn how to converse again, and how to be in dialogue again, and how to work through our stereotypes and our biases together, and not just separated in our own little bubbles.
Yes. How do you think that social media actually affects the issues of equality and stereotypes? Is it that many people now have found a platform to advocate and to talk more openly about these issues? Or is it also because maybe in my brain also I'm thinking that now with all like the filters, the kind of fake images that everyone posts, the need to post all the time, which in a way makes narcissism and the need to show and present yourself all the time even more. It's against, let's say, women's empowerment or this sense of we are all equal.
I think there are three forces at work here. The first one is what you said, that more people have the power and the space to talk about issues like gender equality and inclusion, and this is a good thing because it's raising awareness, it's creating a dialogue, and it spurs movement. So this is a good thing. On the other hand, we tend to create our own bubbles within social media.
True.
So it's more often than not the case that we speak louder, but we tend to speak to people who are already agreeing with us.
Yes.
And again, this creates polarization, and it makes it harder to have a real dialogue between people with differing opinions. And the third thing is what you already mentioned, that social media are mostly about image. And we need to be very aware of that, because in theory, we may be all for gender equality, but when we want to post a photograph on Facebook, we will take extra care of the filters that we will use, of our makeup, we may take 20 photos until we choose the one to upload. And this is true for everyone. We're speaking with feminists, with activists, with experts, and yet even they have a great anxiety about their image.
Yes.
So in theory everything is good and well, but when we get in the practice that involves our public image, things get more complicated. Yes.
Of it. And that is very interesting what you said, because it's very weird for people, people fighting for equality, or activists or feminists, but still, and of course it's human to say that yes, I want my to look better, but it gets a bit against the purpose.
Yeah, and better changes, the notion of better changes with time, and the intensity that we invest in what better means and what beautiful means changes with time. And it's different to be, well, I want to look good in a picture, and a different thing to obsess about every detail on your skin, on your clothes, on your makeup, on your hair. It's a totally different issue.
Do you feel that now this, let's say, excessiveness of filters and everything, is it like a result of patriarchy, or is it something that, let's say, women do it because they want to be liked by more men or by more women, or How do you feel about that? It is not exactly about gender equality, but again, it's in the same, let's say, in a sense, feeling, or I'm trying to understand a bit more.
I think it's about the objectification of the female body. Yeah, it's nothing new, but it takes different forms that have a lot to do with capitalism and with advertising and with the forces of the free market that most of us live in, and we need to be aware of how these forces work to create the environment we live in and the ways we think that we must present ourselves. So for very many people and businesses and institutions, it's great to have women rushing to look better, yes, to buy lipsticks, to buy clothes, to
even
have their hair done.
Even at a very young age now.
Yes, yeah. Yes, of course. So if we're not aware of these forces, it's reasonable to think that this is the way things need to be. If we start being aware of these forces, we might still want to buy 2 or 3 lipsticks, and this is totally okay. But we get some perspective about our, yes, own behavior, yeah, and our own needs to comply with the standards. And I think this is a healthy distance that we need to take. It's hard, especially for young children who of course want to be part of the group and feel included and be popular and, you know, be accepted by their friends, girls and boys alike. So it's up to us, to adults and parents and educators, to just offer that perspective as often as possible.
Besides the financial aspect, let's move on to a different subject now, unequal pay. That it is something that of course it is huge, and we all understand the reason why you're fighting for it, and everyone should. What do you think is another aspect that is vital to achieve gender equality in the future?
I think care will be the main issue of the years to come. And when I talk about care, I mean that up until now, care has been a mostly female thing. And if we want to achieve gender equality and achieve more equal and inclusive societies in general, we need to make care everyone's job and everyone's responsibility. The goal there is not for women to care less, it's for men to care more. And for those care responsibilities to be shared more equally amongst everyone. So that men develop the skills that will make them better humans, like emotional expression and emotional intelligence and the capacity to support other individuals. And then women will also be able to get out more in the world, work more, educate themselves, have time for themselves, and grow more as subjects in the public sphere, rather than just being at home and caring for dependent members of their families.
Do you think that that is something that should be, let's say, be more, how do you say, to become like a policy from like the states, through financial measures, through measures about leave, maternity leave, or leave for fathers, but also through schools, through seminars, through. What do you think?
I think policy is very important because it normalizes and it incentivizes the behaviors we want to promote. School is very important because you can't get into everyone's home, but you can find all the children and educate them in the school system. But also culture and media are very important when it comes to normalizing care and to reward care. Yes. Because up until now we reward people and we approve of people gaining more money, earning more money, being more powerful.
Yes.
So if we start to reward people for being more caring and being more responsible as citizens, then we will be able to shift the paradigm and show that being caring is not just an asset for women, it's an asset for everyone.
For everyone, yeah. Do you think that ever will gender equality is going to be a normality?
If we take care of the environment and we mitigate climate change for enough years, then maybe
yes.
then maybe we'll be able to achieve gender equality in the time that our planet will be still alive here. I'm not sure what will come first.
Are you optimistic besides the climate change, and are you optimistic, I mean, when you see, let's say, your girls, and of course we all know that each one of us has their own path and their choices and we cannot generalize and everything, but are you optimistic for women in the years coming?
Yes, I'm very optimistic. I think that there is a great, how do I say that? There are conflicts coming between genders and between more conservative forces in the society and more progressive forces in the society, and I think this conflict is more or less inevitable. But we need to take some care so that conflict doesn't become distraction, so that conflict doesn't become separation.
Yes.
So we need to train ourselves to have more dialogue and be able to work together towards the common goal of equality and inclusion, and not just, fight for power once more.
Thank you so much. It was great having you. We were very happy, and I hope we'll meet again in next podcast.
Thank you, Ersi.